Work begins in earnest at the elections Cameroon as the submission of lists for candidatures of the regional election wraps up. 10 political parties on the lineup and files of traditional rulers in 24 divisions on scrutiny. Litigants of the February 9, 2020 municipal poll are heard in the administrative bench of the Supreme Court in the lawsuits the press for the cancellation of the election in the Northwest and Southwest regions. The 2020-2021 school year in the secondary education sector is pitched with officials reckoned to follow the COVID-19 preventive measures by Minister Nalo Valyunga for a safe and swift academic period. Good evening. Those were the headlines of the 7:30 News. Thanks for joining us.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
Welcome back. 10 political parties have submitted their list for that will be running for the election of regional elections in December 2020. The figure was disclosed today at a press briefing by the Director General of Elections, Dr. Eric Esuse, following the September 22 deadline to deposit candidatures. Traditional rulers who make up the second electoral college also filed lists in 24 divisions. Ebenezer Akanga reports that the final tabulation will be published by the Electoral Board of ELECAM.
According to the Director General of Elections, Dr. Eric Esuse, the submission of lists of candidates for the regional council elections went on hitch-free in all the 58 ELECAM divisional offices in the country. The candidacy files are now being forwarded to the headquarters of ELECAM in Yaoundé. While waiting to receive all the files, the Director General said that, to go by information coming from the field, some 10 political parties have submitted lists for the elections. At least 2 political parties have submitted lists in 27 divisions out of the 58 in the country, while at least 2 lists of traditional rulers have been submitted in 24 divisions. The Director General of Elections now has to receive all the candidacy files and forward them to the Electoral Board of ELECAM latest Sunday, 27th of September, that is 5 days after the deadline to submit the candidacy files. The Electoral Board will scrutinize the files and publish the final lists latest the 7th of October 2020, that is 60 days before Election Day.
As stipulated in the Electoral Code, the list of members of the 2 electoral colleges of the regional election has been updated, approved and published in ELECAM's divisional branches. The list comprises, on the one hand, of municipal councillors who will vote the divisional delegates, and on the other hand, first, second and third class traditional rulers who will vote their representatives. Beatrice Lawson represents the group of voters, which according to ELECAM is 24,000.
ELECAM reports registering some 24,000 electors of the 2 electoral colleges in all 58 divisions of the country. Among them, 10,532 municipal councillors and 10,631 traditional rulers, whose names were pasted at the ELECAM divisional branches on September 22, 15 days after the convening of the electoral colleges. They are the set of electors on whose shoulder leans the responsibility of electing regional councillors. The electoral colleges of upcoming regional elections are divided in 2 categories: the municipal councillors who will elect divisional delegates to the regional councils. The municipal councillors who comprise this electoral college come from political parties which control and manage the councils. They will be required to take part in the polls and elect the delegates through mixed single-round ballot. The second electoral college in this case is composed of first, second and third class native traditional rulers who have been designated in accordance with the regulation in force. They elect representatives of traditional rulers through a single round majority list system. Members of the electoral college are expected to stay within the territory of the subdivision concerned. Both colleges will vote in the headquarters of each division where their names have been pasted.
Away from the upcoming regional election, post-electoral litigations of the February 9, 2020 municipal poll have begun at the Supreme Court. The petition submitted by different litigants at the administrative bench of the Supreme Court call for the annulment of the election in the Northwest and Southwest regions. Sidone Chapmandi sat through the hearings and now reports for the 7:30 News.
Hearings on appeals for 105 petitions from political parties for cancellation of the February 9 municipal elections were heated at the administrative bench of the Supreme Court. The opposition parties who are requesting the annulment of the election based their argument on insecurity and low voter turnout in the Northwest and Southwest regions, as well as electoral misconduct during the election of municipal councillors and that of mayors.
The administrative court actually cancelled elections in Bafut. The decision of that court should be quashed and that they should maintain the status quo. They should maintain those who have been elected in Bafut. And other constituencies, we think that we're in a country of law. What the Supreme Court looks to serve is justice.
The lawyers of the CPDM have argued against accusations made and have generally agreed with the report of the examining judge for the petition to be thrown away. ELECAM, on his part, is confident that the election were well organized.
We, Elections Cameroon, we have to defend that election.
At the time of this report, the hearings were still undergoing and no verdict had been passed.
In other news, reflective traffic signposts with indications in English and French have been mounted along the Bekoko-Banjul Highway. The project along the 225-kilometer stretch on the National Road No. 5 is an initiative of the Ministry of Public Works. Joyce Kimbifuwaju now tells us about the peculiarities of these signposts.
Less talked about but indispensable in traffic security, traffic signpost. We traveled by night and with the help of our vehicle lamps, we noticed the return of new traffic signposts from Bikoko roundabout to the outlet of Douala.
We have 374 traffic signposts. The peculiarity is that they reflect in night and the day.
On the 225 kilometers distance between Bikoko and Banjul, the attention of drivers and locals are caught by these new traffic signs.
It's very visible, but the condition on the highway is not in our favor because we are avoiding accidents. So if the government can see what to do about concerning the road, we'll be very happy.
But with this incivility we noted on some of the signposts, the question will be whether it will maintain its longevity.
That's what we all hope. Still in the transport sector, the renovation of the Garua International Airport is advancing satisfactorily. Engineers have been at work to install state-of-the-art equipment that will ensure the security of passengers and their luggage. Governor Jean Baptiste applauded the job carried out in the strict respect of international aviation norms. Wilson Mangole tells us more from the north.
The main work at the Garua International Airport was done on the roofs, which have been covered with metallic material to avoid water infiltration, and the toilets, which have received a new coat of paint. With regards to aviation security, new metal detectors have been bought for the safety of passengers, staff, and airport property. The renovation of the airport to meet international aviation standards comes ahead of the African Cup of Nations, which Garua is host to one of the pools of the competition.
I'm very satisfied to see what the ADC are done in the way of equipment to secure not only the passengers but encourage them.
Officials of the region thus believe that with such renovation at the airport, the region is ready to welcome people from far and near.
And in economic news, the Bank of Central African States will soon have a branch in Ebolova in the South region. Ahead of the official laying of the foundation stone, the Minister of Finance, Louis-Paul Mutaze, held a meeting with economic stakeholders in the area. Details with Pontianos Lawong.
The preparatory meeting brought together officials of the Bank of Central African States, BEAC, led by its National Director Blaise Eugene Som, as well as South Governor Felix Ngelengele and close aides. Minister Louis-Paul Motase and stakeholders have taken adequate measures to ensure the success of the ceremony to lay the foundation stone of the Ebolova branch of BEAC from the logistic and technical points of view. From the program of the event, the lodging of various officials as well as the mobilization of the population, participants laid the groundwork with emphasis on the respect of anti-COVID-19 measures.
We have been discussing with all the stakeholders, and what I can tell you is that I think all will be ready. We are going to report to the Prime Minister and let him know what we have found on the field.
Minister Louis-Paul Motase has also visited the project site at the Anguno neighborhood, already being prepared for the event. He is optimistic that the ceremony will be successful.
On today's developing story, the Government Action Fair Sago enters day 2 today with some 80,000 visitors discovering the services offered by public administrations. Apart from conferences organized by the public and private sectors, there is the live broadcast of exchanges on CRTV News. Iwan Epole tells us that the exhibitors have also surpassed 150.
Ministerial departments and state corporations have occupied stands at the Yaoundé Multipurpose Sports Complex to exhibit their goods and services. Through conferences, the experts are explaining the missions of their respective institutions.
So many issues that people did not understand were clarified at this conference. Many people got to know the difference between the Supreme Audit Institution of Cameroon, which is CONSUPE. What we do is in the interest of good governance. Whatever the government is giving out should get to the citizen rather than end up in the pockets of individuals.
The present 9th edition of the SAGO 2020 is grouping over 150 exhibitors.
This forum is very important for the local population, because it shows all the dynamism, all the creativity of the economic sector of our country.
Approximately 80,000 visitors are expected at the exhibition ground by the 25th of September when it ends.
In the agricultural sector, commitments are being taken to upgrade the seed production sector in the country. The National Seed Council, in its 8th session in Yaoundé today, emphasized on the agronomic values of vegetables like onion and watermelon. The meeting was chaired by the Minister Delegate to the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Clementine Ananga Messina. Here's an excerpt on the objectives of the council.
Agriculture starts with the seeds. Without a good seed, a performed seed, we cannot have the level of productivity that we need. With the good productivity, we can improve both quantity and quality of the production in our country. The National Seed Board is a consultative body who regroups all the stakeholders. Today, specifically, they will review the test protocols for some products like maize.
And now on to education. As we announced in one of our top stories, the 2020-2021 school year and pedagogic activities in the secondary education sector have been officially launched with calls to respect COVID-19 barrier measures in the school milieu. At the opening today in Yaoundé by the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Nalova Lyonga, school officials were enjoined to abide by the 50 pupil per class rule. Details with Joyce Tata.
After a 2-day intensive working session on the solemn pedagogic resumption by secondary education stakeholders, Minister Nalova Lyonga launches the 2020-2021 school year, ushering in a new baby, distance learning. A peculiar year with new orientations, necessitating the proper respect of social distancing in classrooms for a COVID-19-free school year.
We're telling the whole population of Cameroon that Cameroon is ready to welcome our children. 50 per class is not an opportunity for principals to make money. It is an opportunity for principals to obey the social distancing.
At the tail of the ceremony, Minister Nalova Lyonga symbolically handed over anti-COVID-19 kits to the 10 regional delegates of secondary education to reinforce the fight against the deadly pandemic in their spheres of influence.
With pedagogic activities now in full swing, the biggest challenge of the education community is to dispense knowledge while protecting pupils and their instructors from the deadly coronavirus. While the wearing of face masks is mandatory, the institution of regular hand washing, the provision of hand sanitizers and the respect for physical distancing are prescribed. Gilbert Ongene investigates.
This is the groupe scolaire Les Amis in the Kondengui neighborhood of Yaoundé. School officials here defend the fact that apart from their usual capacity of 35 pupils per class, which is far below the 50 required by the ministry, the airy spaces within the classrooms and recreational grounds on campus will be as a way of checking the spread of COVID-19.
What will change this year is that outdoor classes will be very, very effective.
A stone's throw from here at Angisa, the story is different.
We had a class that was about 100. So automatically we had to share the class into 4.
Extension works are also underway to prepare for any eventual increase in the number of students this coming school year. Authorities of other schools whose capacity of children per classroom surpasses the 50 limit prescribed by government admit they are brooding on how to institute a shift system. By and large, school authorities, teachers, parents and other stakeholders of the educational community remain upbeat that Back to School 2020 will rise up to the COVID-19 challenge, just as was the case with the organization of the last official examinations.
Getting a dialysis has been a strong worry for patients in Yaoundé who recently undertook to protest at the dialysis unit of the University Teaching Hospital of Yaoundé. While the patients decry an increase of the cost from 5,000 to 20,000 francs, hospital sources say the problem rather lies in the shortage of a complete dialysis kit. Cynthia Saptala has been finding out what the bone of contention is. This is what she brought back for the 7:30 News.
This is Wanga Odette waiting at the dialysis unit of the hospital for her 16-year-old son to get his weekly treatment.
At first, we paid 5,000 francs per treatment. Today, they asked us to pay 20,000 francs because I had to give 15,000 francs outside for a hemodialyzer, plus the 5,000 francs given in the hospital. We are in need of equipment.
Inside, 6 machines working with more than 100 patients waiting, 15 per day for 4 to 5 hours of treatment each. Official sources of the hospital state that the prices of each treatment session hasn't changed.
At CRTV, when you come for dialysis, you pay 5,000 francs. We were running out of stock. The Minister of Health have been informed, and he allowed Bamenda Regional Hospital to support CRTV. There is a delay between administrative procedures and the affordment from Belgium.
Authorities at the Ministry of Public Health say apart from funding 80% of the actual costs of treatment, efforts are made to ensure that public hospitals with dialysis units are equipped.
It's a
management problem. The state awards service contracts after a demand notification from hospitals at the beginning of the year. Delays happen when hospitals fail to notify ahead of time.
Dialysis treatments are offered at the General Hospital and the University Teaching Hospital in Yaoundé. And here, specialists confirm that there are 15 additional machines on standby because the unit is still under construction 5 years now.
In other news, efforts are on course to bridge the digital gap between the rural and urban areas in the country. At the 5-day training in Balmayo in the Centre region, the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications delved into the creation of avenues for children aged between 10 and 18 in new information and communication technologies. Maimuna Njoya has the details.
Initiative from the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications is a practical response to the existing digital divide in the country.
The government has projected to reduce the digital gap to permit to our young children of Balmayo and around to be given some notion as far as a digital computer science is concerned.
E-learning in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, which is the main focus of this fourth holiday program, has a true objective. Over 1,000 children between the 10 and 18 age bracket have been deployed in 4 different sites in Balmayo, Nyong and So division. In this way, there are hopes that the digital split will be somehow addressed as information and communication technologies are more and more given space in rural and semi-urban communities.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
If you're a woman, you may want to know the link between getting tested positive for coronavirus and infertility. This is your chance. Gynecologists have been allaying the fears of women who have had COVID-19 that after recovery, they can conceive without any complications. How possible is that? Baldwin Sama and his guest, Professor Mbu, who are at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center, will be telling us more. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Esther Kiman. Welcome. I should say most of them have been so worried, psychologically disturbed. I'm talking about women who were previously tested positive for COVID-19 and later recovered from the virus. They wish to know whether it's possible for them, after recovering from the virus, to maintain their fertility. It's possible for them to conceive. Is it possible for the coronavirus to affect a woman's fertility? That is what we shall be discussing with Professor Robinson Boo, Assistant Gynecologist and Director of Family Health in the Ministry of Public Health. Good evening, Prof.
Good evening.
Simple. Does COVID-19 affect a woman's fertility?
No. So far, we don't have any evidence that COVID-19 has any influence on the reproductive system. We know it is a multiple system disease that affects the lungs, the kidneys, almost every organ of the body, but not the genital organs. And so while waiting for evidence and more research, as of now, we can convincingly say that COVID-19 does not affect the ability to reproduce after treatment or even while on treatment.
And finally, does it equally affect a woman's, can it affect a woman's menstrual cycle?
Since it does not affect the reproductive system, inadvertently, it will not affect the menstrual cycle.
Thank you so much, Professor Robinson Boo. We remind our viewers that you're the Director of Family Health in the Ministry of Public Health. Women who have been tested positive for COVID-19, they should be quite reassured that there is no need for any panic. They should not be scared. If you have been tested positive before and you recovered from the virus, you maintain your fertility, it is still very possible for you to conceive. Back to you, Esther Kima.
Thanks very much, Baldwin Sama, for reassuring women that even if they are tested COVID-19 positive, their reproductive organs are not affected, and so they can still have babies. Now, let's talk something else. Actors of regulatory media outlets in French-speaking African countries are considering ways to appropriately deal with changes in technology and their impact on the traditional media. This is at the teleconference Summer University program, attended amongst others by Cameroon's President of the National Communication Council, Peter Isoka. Romeo Nkenyi tells us more.
Over 40 participants are taking part at the first ever summer university program on regulation, media and information education, coordinated via teleconference in Tunis, Tunisia. The initiative is that of the High Independent Authority for Audiovisual Communication, the French-speaking Media Regulation Agency, and the Network of African Regulatory Authorities. Issues addressed by experts are centered around basic principles of regulation as a new mode of public governance, the guarantee of independent, efficient, and sustainable regulation, changes in technologies and their economic consequences.
There must be a certain measure of control. Not that the regulator is a controller of things, but it tries to help.
At the end of the 3-day exchange, a certificate of excellence will be awarded to those who have regularly followed the various modules of the program.
And now on today's editorial, Orange Cameroon has provided a special package for the 2 predominantly English-speaking regions of the country. The package is branded Save Your Money, and access to it is just by purchasing an Orange SIM card at the cost of 100 francs linked to the mobile money service. Annabelle Ndike Enonganyang tells us more from Buya.
A special offer from Orange Cameroon just for the English-speaking regions of the country is aimed to support them overcome some of their challenges. Thus, purchasing an Orange SIM card at the cost of 100 francs CFA in the Anglophone regions, alongside the creation of an Orange mobile money account, paves the way for the magic code to enjoy the benefits of Save Your Money.
You dial 124*0#, and then of course you have lots of advantages. The first is 1 GB of data. You have 500 minutes to call Orange numbers. You have 25 francs per minute if you are calling other networks. Your transfers are free on Orange Money, and if you do a transfer of 1,000 francs, you get all the advantages of the free bundle.
The revolutionary offers by Orange Cameroon to the Anglophone community is of essence to embrace some of your financial and communication worries.
The story between Orange and the Northwest and Southwest regions is a story of love and action. That's why today we decided to engage with influencers who are artists, comedians, and entertainment bloggers. We presented Magasco, Stanley Eno, Clarice Ndinge, and Senior Pastor. This is to show that the commitment to Orange Cameroon is going to be a perennial engagement. That is, we're going to continue working with the population to connect emotionally with them, at the same time offering our products and services for our customers.
In the face of changing times, Orange Cameroon is ever present to ride along and meet the needs of the people.
And that editorial brings us to the end of the 7:30 news, in which you heard that work has begun in earnest at Elections Cameroon as the submission of lists of candidates of the regional election has wrapped up. 10 political parties are on the lineup, and the files of traditional rulers have been deposited in 24 divisions. More news comes up at 8:30 p.m. with Romeo Chise. I'll be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. God willing. Stay tuned to the programs on the CRTV. It was a pleasure serving you. Good night.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing